Thanks.
Looks sparklier. Looks like and see innocence. Let's kind of refresh. Yep, we're live. We're good.
Sweet.
Sweet. Good to be here, everybody.
Hello, everyone. I don't know where you went, Chris. You disappeared on me. Technical difficulties today. Oh, there we go. There you are.
Okay. I actually tried to open up the room to see the comments, but here we are.
Yeah, Facebook is so silly. Sometimes the room works, sometimes the room doesn't. So if you guys are ever trying to find us and we know that that we're like scheduled for a live event, sometimes Facebook will not let us stream into the event for whatever reason. I don't know why. And then through Zoom, we can't stream into the event. So if you are wanting to watch us live, just go to the group page and click refresh for a couple minutes, and then you'll eventually like see us. I know it's unfortunate. It's just Facebook. So sorry, guys.
We're simply glad to be here more than anything.
Right. Super excited to be back here with you. We're going to talk about heart health today, guys.
Cool. Welcome.
Yeah.
February is known for it to be a heart health month. Valentine's Day, love, hearts, it all works together, obviously. And we're going to discuss some really simple things we can do to support heart health and overall well-being. And I'm sure Brittany will emphasize this as well. You're probably going to hear a lot of the same things we've said over the past 7 weeks or so with regarding to support your health.
The same stuff, guys, that like just helps support the body overall, right? I mean, there's certain different supplements and things specific for the heart. There's certain, foods that may be more beneficial for the heart, but overall, it's just healthy diet, healthy lifestyle, getting exercise, getting sleep, managing stress, eating real food. Same stuff we talk about. I feel like a broken record sometimes, but obviously it's needed because, we're sick as a country, and, so obviously people aren't doing this. That video that I had that I did with the healthy habits, that thank you guys for all liking that in here. But some of the comments on TikTok, those people are pretty mean, but someone said, well, no poop, Sherlock. And I was like, well, how many people do you know who are actually doing these 10 things every day? Like we wouldn't be so unhealthy if we were. So
there's simple things pay many dividends.
Yep, absolutely.
Tomorrow into the future as well.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'll pull up our slides. Heart health, all pretty in pink.
Cool.
This is the leading cause of disease and death, you guys. Like this is heart health is super important. We lose a ton of people every year to heart disease, and 80% of that is preventable with diet and lifestyle. So let me get this. There we go. Okay. So we got some risk factors. So when you go, see your doctor, some different tests that can, explain, give you a little more information and determine your risk for developing heart disease. So we have elevated CRP, which is C-reactive protein. That's an inflammatory marker. Interleukin-6 levels, that's also an inflammatory marker. Free radical damage. That's why we promote antioxidants, right? And you get those antioxidants from vegetables, from fruits, and also, from good supplementation, like Chris talks about. Oh, my silly camera keeps disappearing. We got chronic inflammation, which so many people are just walking around chronically inflamed, right? Obesity, elevated homocysteine levels, insulin imbalance and resistance. If you saw my live yesterday, we talked about the blood sugar roller coaster. That's a huge indicator of, your risk for, it increases your risk for heart disease. Heart disease and diabetes, they're kind of most people have both, right? Like they end up with obesity, diabetes, heart disease. You end up with more than just one thing. And then we have atherosclerosis, which is that buildup of plaque in the arteries. I'll leave it to
Awesome.
Chris.
Sure. Great start there. And as we've been just discussed, and we just said previously, a lot of the same things can help support each other, such as the greens and the vegetables and even healthy fats. Fats are really a good thing as long as they're on the right kind, of course. Trans fats and saturated fat is actually okay, but if you combine saturated fat with like processed and sugary foods, that's when it becomes a problem. So it's kind of interesting the way it works. I believe, you can correct me, but I believe like almond butter and almonds are all good saturated fats, and coconut oil too. But if you basically process them and put them into an inflammatory form, it's going to be cause an issue as well. And
Yeah.
cholesterol has been a big issue in the group, and I'm sure you're going to touch into this as well. But our body actually needs cholesterol. It needs
Our
it.
body makes cholesterol, like we
Seriously.
make it.
For sex hormones, for immune system, actually too low cholesterol levels, brain health, exactly. Brain health, too low cholesterol levels are actually more of an issue than high cholesterol levels. Cholesterol actually becomes a problem when the cholesterol basically gets sticks to the walls and becomes sticky. And there's like technicality within this. I'm not a doctor, but I've enjoyed learning about it, as well as Brittany. She's awesome with many things, obviously. But even cholesterol and blood pressure go back to blood sugar, which is what Brittany did yesterday. So it's kind of cool that you started off with blood sugar yesterday, and we're continuing into this. For blood pressure in particular, you can take a fish oil or a grapeseed extract or a CoQ10 or other supplements for blood pressure, for healthy blood pressure levels. But if you don't change your diet, that's only going to do so good. It's like going forward, like on the gas, but kind of having your other leg on the brake. It'll help you out, but ultimately in the long run, you're going to still causing inflammation when you eat inflammatory foods. So really a combination of both. Like we can give you the best fish oil or the best CoQ10 or other heart health products to support those blood pressure levels. But ultimately, if you're still eating sugary, processed, trans fatty foods, it's only going to do so good.
Yep, exactly. It's never just one thing that's going to fix. And same goes for, we get a lot of mental health and anxiety, depression, things like that. What can I take? Like, it's a multifactorial thing, right? Like, we want to start off with those diet, lifestyle behaviors, getting exercise, getting movement, managing our stress, sleep. And then there's some supplements that we can add into that in addition. But if we're not doing all of those things, just trying one of those things isn't gonna get you the progress that you want. And then when you take traditional medications, that's just a Band-Aid, and that's not gonna help you in the long term, and that's gonna give you more side effects and all kinds of other issues. I got some statistics here though. So
Sure.
Heart disease remains the leading cause of death globally, accounting for 16% of all deaths. Heart disease was responsible for the deaths of 8.9 million people in 2019. That's just in the US. 80% of heart disease is completely preventable with diet and healthy lifestyle choices. So that's 7.12 million unnecessary deaths. And what have we been freaking out about the last 2 years, right? And no mention of, heart disease. Heart disease is a pandemic, you guys. Like, seriously, like it's really, major stuff. So, and according to current research, so many of those risk factors thought to be indicative of heart disease aren't really holding up. The American Journal of Critical Care published a report and found that 50% of patients with coronary artery disease did not have the traditional risk factors, like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, things like that. So, for example, C-reactive protein, a marker for overall body inflammation, is more indicative of someone's risk of heart disease than cholesterol. In fact, most people, over 80%, who experience a heart attack do not have elevated cholesterol levels. And if you guys like, so I am certified through Chris Kresser in his high cholesterol action plan. And so I learned all about like, you know, research on cholesterol. And he looked at some tribes in like Africa and some other countries that they eat a lot of meat. They have very high cholesterol, but they have no heart disease. Right. So it's when we eat, like Chris was saying, it's when we eat these saturated fats and also eat these bad fats, these processed foods, these, you know, all these other things that we eat here in America, our sad diet, that's when it becomes an issue. That's when there becomes damage to the artery walls. That's when the cholesterol and the things start to stick. And that's when you develop atherosclerosis. It's not just your high cholesterol. High cholesterol is not even what they've lowered it over the last 20 years, and your numbers of what it should be at, and that's just to sell more pills because they make a ton of money selling those statins and those pills like that. So substances like cholesterol, triglycerides, and collagen stick to arterial walls only after it has been damaged by some previous causative factor. This damage can result from nutrient deficiencies, sudden high blood pressure episodes brought on by stress, and free radical damage. And these highly reactive free radical molecules are generated in the body from compounds like drugs, cleaning chemicals, exhaust fumes, alcohol, rancid fats, emotional and physical stress, chlorinated drinking water, heavy metals, and radiation from x-rays or excess sun exposure. So a lot of stuff there.
Again, it goes back to the basics. I'm going to really say that, but we can control. I sorry to cut you off. We can control. For the most part, most of the time, what we put into our body, such as the food we eat at home and so forth. We can ideally control what we buy at the store. We may not always be able to control walking on the streets and there's car exhaust, but I think ultimately more than anything, control the controllable when it comes to, again, the food you eat, your stress levels, which again impact everything in a sense. So just try and do the basics. Water, chlorine is, like Brittany just mentioned, is in many systems. It can be beneficial to get a water filter to kind of clean it out. You will probably notice a difference. But ultimately, in the long run, again, just go back to the basics, control the controllable with what you eat. Listen to your body. There are certain times I'll have, Brittany, have you heard of like these hippies that like cheese doodle curls? They're gluten-free.
What?
They're called hippies, HIPPEAS. It's a gluten-free organic cheese curl, but they're like higher in protein, but again they're processed. And I'll have them and I'll feel funky afterwards. And I realize this. We're all normal and human, obviously, but listen to your body. If you keep on eating foods like that, you're really never going to feel full. You're not going to feel clear as well, obviously. So just control the controllable, good water, physical exercise. You're going to feel better too, mentally and physically from the physical exercise. So simple things like that, I think, can really make a big difference.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about some diet and lifestyle factors, but these are some nutrients that are super important for heart health. And I'm going to let Chris take this one, our supplement guy over here, and talk about some supplements that are great for the heart.
Sure. Vitamin C, of course. Please, what isn't it good for in a sense? Vitamin C is water soluble, so many times people can take higher levels of it. Their body uses what it needs and excretes the rest, which is water soluble. You basically pee out what your body doesn't need, which is important. Vitamin E as well, very important for heart health. K2 is actually really interesting with regard to calcium, magnesium, K2, and even vitamin D. We've seen a lot of questions in the group with regard to what's a good calcium, what's a good magnesium. Calcium is important for healthy bones, but so is magnesium. So as much as calcium is important, it's important for calcium and magnesium to be balanced together, in addition to having vitamin D with it to make sure that the calcium goes to the right places. If there's too much calcium, we can't guarantee anything, but there's a possibility and a chance that it can potentially cause calcification of the arteries. But if you balance that out with magnesium and K2, it's going to make sure that the magnesium, that the calcium, the magnesium go to the right places. And again, we're not going to test you on this. We've learned this throughout our experience over the past 10, 12, 15 years, and Brittany loves learning as well. But K2 is excellent for heart health, cardiovascular health, in addition to, again, calcium and magnesium too can be beneficial, but it's important to balance them out together. So again, the ingredients go to the right places, calcium and magnesium. Our bones actually is not a bone health webinar, but our bones need magnesium as much as they need calcium. So calcium and magnesium together, again, are good for cardiovascular health. Omega-3s, what can I say about that? I've seen studies showing that omega-3s can be as beneficial as, to really support blood pressure as traditional DREGS drugs. So a good fish oil, again, like we've spoken about in the past, it's important for the fish oil to be pure, potent, free of any toxins, mercury, PCBs, and other things. Because if you're taking a fish oil for good intention, but if it has mercury or a toxin in it, it's going to backfire. It might actually do more harm than it will good. So you might see a study saying the fish oil is connected to cancer. Well, no. What kind of fish oil were they using? Were they using a dirty and rancid fish oil that caused an issue because of the funky ingredients in it that might have had a cause a concern? But ultimately, like with anything, you want to make sure that the fish oil is clean and is pure. A good one is Nordic Naturals. You can get them at many health food stores. Brittany and I have companies we work with that sell and make very high quality products, guaranteed not to have mercury, PCBs, and toxins. It's very pure and potent. What's nice as well is, just be honest, it helps the growth of the group. We put a lot of time and effort into it, so we certainly help you out with that as well. CoQ10. CoQ10 as well is important for heart health, ATP function, adenosine. I don't know what the word.
Adenosine triphosphate.
What's that?
I said, are you trying to say adenosine triphosphate?
Yes.
Yeah. ADP.
Thank you. ATP function, energy as well, turmeric, potent anti-inflammatory, hawthorn, like you mentioned, grapeseed extracts. I've probably mentioned them many times in the group. The potent anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, has antihistamine properties, and it's also very good for cardiovascular health, in addition to joint health and for vascular function as well. So those are really good to incorporate in addition to a healthy, nutrient-dense diet.
Yeah, absolutely. So, common misconception is that in general, fats are bad and grains are good for the heart, right? Because you look at all these processed foods and they're like, great for heart health. Well, that's a bunch of baloney. But, studies have found that total fat intake, independent of type, is not strongly associated with coronary heart disease. Interestingly enough, trans fatty acids, so those found in things like margarine and most processed and packaged foods, raise HDL cholesterol and decrease HDL cholesterol. So basically it's the type of fat, not the total fat, that is the significant factor. And in regards to grains, it has also been determined that diets high in refined carbohydrates, such as sugar and flours, increase inflammation. And heart disease is an inflammatory disease. Like, we are walking around inflamed. That is, that is what causes the issues. So it's important to focus on reducing free radical damage, quenching that inflammation, reducing homocysteine, and stabilizing insulin. Bringing these body functions into balance will optimize heart function and improve circulation. So, like Chris said, vitamin C, that's an antioxidant. It helps reduce inflammation. In a study of over 11,000 Americans who were tracked for 10 years, those supplementing with an average of 300 milligrams of vitamin C daily reduced their risk of heart disease by 1/3. In another study, heart disease patients given 2,000 milligrams a day of vitamin C had a 27% decrease in platelet aggregation, a 12% reduction in total cholesterol, and a 45% increase in fibrinogen breakdown. Fibrinogen is like a thing that gets really hard and makes our vessels like really hard. Another one is ALA, so alpha lipoic acid. That improves blood sugar metabolism, insulin sensitivity, and functions as a powerful antioxidant as well. It's also a heavy metal chelating agent, which has the ability to grab and bind metallic substances. So I know some people ask about like heavy metal detoxes in the group. This is a great supplement for heavy metal detoxing as well, because it neutralizes them and then it carries them to a place where they can be excreted from the body. Vitamin E reduces blood clotting and is an antioxidant that protects our cell membranes and other fat soluble parts of the body, particularly the LDL cholesterol. So only when the LDL is damaged or oxidized does cholesterol appear to contribute to heart disease. And so when the traditional doctor like tests your cholesterol levels, they're not even looking at the right stuff. You need to see a functional medicine doctor. You need to see, because it's the fluffy particles of LDL that are the ones that cause issues. It's not the regular LDL, but they don't measure for that. So you can have elevated LDL, which they consider the bad cholesterol, but it's really those fluffy particles, those oxidized particles that are the problem. Homocysteine reducers, as I mentioned, that is really important to reduce. Foods rich in B complex vitamins. Brewer's yeast, eggs, meat, fish, nuts, seeds, dark leafy greens. Those are all going to be high in B vitamins. A good B complex is also, beneficial to take, helps with stress, helps with brain function, helps with muscle function. I mean, B vitamins are super important. Fish oil, we know that's a powerful anti-inflammatory agent. Carnitine actually helps the heart work more effectively. I know, like, you think of carnitine like, muscle and bodybuilders and stuff like that, but it actually helps the heart work more effectively. And it's the heart is highly dependent on energy produced from fatty acids for normal functioning, and carnitine is the key master for fatty acids to enter into the cell. It also lowers triglycerides and raises that HDL cholesterol. CoQ10 or coenzyme Q10, it protects the body from free radicals and helps preserve vitamin E. It's found in the greatest concentration in the heart and the liver, and is used by the body to transform food into energy. It can increase the heart's tolerance to a lack of oxygen and appears to modulate blood pressure by reducing resistance to blood flow. Vitamin K2, dairy, found in dairy from like grass-fed animals. It directs like Chris was saying, it directs calcium to the bones and prevents it from settling in the arteries, where it can lead to atherosclerosis. In general, a high intake of K2 is associated with lower incidence of cardiovascular disease. So a lot of times you'll find vitamin D and K2 in like a supplement form together. Make sure that you're getting adequate amounts of that. Other nutrients, having a good multi, Chris did the supplement talk the other day talking about different supplements. So, making sure that you have a good high quality multivitamin, just so you're covering your bases. That's kind of like, it's just like your insurance, right? Like just making sure you're filling in the gaps, right? Because even if we're eating as super healthy and super clean, just because of the way our food system is, we're not getting the nutrients that we need for optimal health. some herbs. So hawthorn is believed to exert many beneficial effects on the heart and blood vessels. These include improved blood flow and strengthening of the contractions of the heart muscle. It also may improve circulation to the extremities by lowering resistance to blood flow in peripheral blood vessels. And the bioflavonoids found in hawthorn are potent antioxidants. Turmeric, we know it is super great for inflammation. It's been shown to modulate platelet aggregation. So that's super important because when those platelets aggregate, that's when we get those blocks, right? And there's so many different nutrients that aren't on here. Those are just some basic ones. Chris touched on magnesium, calcium, things like that. All super important for heart health.
Just wanted to share one thing too with regard to heart health. Brittany, I'm sure you've heard of the French paradox. With regard to the French people, they eat cheeses and they eat breads and they eat a lot of wine. But yet you would traditionally think of, oh, you have cheese. Shouldn't that relate to cholesterol issues and heart issues? The French people, you really don't see that many big French people like that you do in the States. You'd expect them to have the higher levels of heart disease and cardiovascular disease. But yeah, because of the grapes and other nutrient-dense foods they eat, that's actually why they don't have that kind of issue because of the grapes. Grapes are very good for heart health. Just grapes in and of itself, grapes are actually, like I mentioned, even again the Mediterranean diet. I think you can probably correct me. It's been ranked one of the top, quote unquote diets in the world because it combines the healthy fats. The fish, if you can do fish, eat like fish, great. Fish are great sources of omega-3s. Protein as well can be good from fish. So I would kind of even lean towards that as far as like what is a healthy diet. So lean towards that with healthy fats, good grains. If you can do grains, awesome. A lot of again, olive oil is huge in Greece and Italy. I love my olive oil. It can be expensive, but make sure you have a good one.
Good quality is important because those ones that you get at most stores are not.
No. It comes from like 10 countries. It's like part of like Tunisia, Greece, Italy. How does that work? Shouldn't there just be like one?
Right.
Comes from Italy.
Yeah.
So yeah, olive oil is great too to be incorporated. And we can just actually touch on oils, like the difference between olive oil, rapeseed oil, sunflower oil, because how do you choose between all of them? And those can be good, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, we want to do the good oils, olive oil, avocado oil, but we want to avoid, coconut oil is really good, but we want to avoid oils like canola oil, corn oil, vegetable oil. Those are all high in omega-6s. They increase inflammation, they increase oxidative damage, and they are contributing to our obesity epidemic in this country. Unfortunate. But, the biggest thing here is, when we eat meals, we want to make sure that we're like including, right? We want these healthy fats, quality protein, just like I talked about yesterday, plenty of vegetables, fiber, maybe some additional carbohydrates if you can do some grains or, sweet potato, maybe some rice, different things like that. But we want to keep blood sugar balanced because that is going to keep our inflammatory load down. That's going to help the heart. So, really making sure that we are nailing down what our plate should look like, making sure that our energy levels are stable throughout the day by eating those balanced meals. Let me know. I can tag you in the video yesterday if you want to learn more about that. I'm not going to cover that today because I just talked about that yesterday, but, really just eating real food, eating more whole foods, limiting the processed stuff, limiting those highly refined carbohydrates, all the sugar, the bad fats, and just eating real food like God intended us to do.
The basics.
Right?
Going back to the basics.
Yeah, absolutely. And making sure that we're including lots of brightly colored fruits and vegetables. I know you guys have heard it, like eat the rainbow, like each color has different benefits for health. So we really want to make sure that we are consuming all different sorts of vegetables throughout our day, throughout our week, right? Different colors. And it's also aesthetically pleasing. Like, I don't know if you guys like follow me personally or are in my other little group where I post my recipes. Like, I try to make my plates look really beautiful and colorful, right? Because that gives me like more appreciation for my food, and I see all these wonderful colors, and it like, it helps me enjoy it more and I savor it more, as opposed to just like wolfing down a burrito or something along those lines. Like,
Lively.
food
It's
look.
good energy to it too.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's it for the slides, but we can keep talking.
I think we just one other thing too. We can go all day, but I don't have the time for that. You don't either. But with regard to heart health, emotional health, and February is just as important. We touched on that 2 or 3 weeks ago with regard to mental health, but heart health and stress can really kind of work well together. There is a thing such as the heartstrings, and they're saying you play more heartstrings. And if you have had a bad loss, a family member, a job, or whatever, it's like you're pulling them apart. And that actually can physically happen in the body. So stress plays a big freaking role in heart health and overall well-being. And like I mentioned, this is not a career talk, but one of the top times, most common, not for good reason, times for a heart attack is between, I think it's 6 and 8 a.m. on a Monday morning. Kind of just work it all together. People are getting ready to go to work and they fall. We're not making fun of it, obviously, but stress and lifestyle can play a big role in cardiovascular health just as much.
Speaking of that, so I heard interesting, I was listening to Dr. Hyman this morning, and so they talked about daylight savings. And here in Arizona, we don't do daylight savings, which is great, but then it's also very confusing because everybody else does it. And so then I'm like, wait, how many hours apart are we now? Like, I'm either on Pacific time or I'm on Mountain time, and it goes back and forth. But so there was a study done. Well, they took data from all the countries that do daylight savings time, and it's like over like 1 billion people, nearly 2 billion people, right? This study sample based on the countries that do daylight savings. So heart attacks increase 24% the day, like the next day when you lose your hours. So when you spring forward and you lose that hour, heart attacks increase 24% that day. And the opposite effect happens when you get that extra hour of sleep. Heart attacks decrease by 24%. And Mondays are the number one day for heart attacks because work and having to go back to work. And so very, very interesting there. So yeah, managing that stress, definitely important. And we did get a couple questions that I was just looking at. So ALA, I'll go more into depth. I can do a post for you, Anthony, on ALA. Or I'll comment below on it because I have a whole like sheet on it, and I'll get you some more info on that. And then just like other herbs, who asked that question? Kumar asked about other herbs like turmeric for cardiac status. So I talked about, turmeric, the hawthorn. Garlic is another good one. Bilberry is another herb that's very beneficial for heart. Hawthorn, cayenne pepper's a good one for heart health as well. And I'm sure that I'm probably missing some, but I'll do a little research for you, and I'll type that below I'll answer your questions after we're done.
Great question, because we recommend real food, chicken and fish and all. You can spice and make it sexy as you want and make it as good as you want. It doesn't have to be bland. It's not a bland chicken or a bland piece of steak or whatever we're recommending, whole foods. So there are ways we can make it really good.
I love using seasonings and spices and fresh herbs. And I mean, you can take chicken and you can have like Indian, right, with curry and turmeric, and you can have that kind of style, or you could add cumin and cayenne and all those things, and make it more like a Mexican style dish.
Or garlic for a
Lemon
time.
pepper, garlic, yeah, garlic and rosemary. Rosemary is one of my
Exactly.
favorites with poultry. I actually, in my other group today, my recipe today was a paprika chicken.
Cool.
Nice and spicy. Good for your heart. Good for digestion.
I'm part Hungarian too, so paprika is very big.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, you can just, I love improvising, kind of trying things out. You can be more of a tactician, like I do like Thursday scoops and different scoops, but try it out, see what works for you. No, I would put olive oil on it, different healthy oils, of course, but it's not the boring chicken I'm referring to. It's making it really good, whatever works for you, obviously. And it doesn't make chicken, but it can be real foods.
Have fun with it. That's one of my favorite things with my clients is like them like learning how to like really cook and like cook good food, and then they're like they enjoy it, right? They're like, oh, I love this now. People that think they're not a good cook, but I always, me with my recipes, and I'm always cooking, and say teach my clients. That's a whole week long in my program of here's how we cook, here's little simple tips, and people end up really like enjoying it, and they love it, and it's really cool. And then you have that appreciation more for your food, like you made it. I wish I could grow more of my own food and have that, because that's even more connection with your food, and more connection with what nourishes your body. And I think that's super important, having that relationship with food, and having that healthy relationship, and realizing that food is medicine, and it can heal us, and it's powerful.
It's information, as Dr. Hyman says. You're giving our body the calcium in a vegetable, or we're not making it a chemistry experiment, of course, but it's information more than anything what it incorporates, it has there.
Yeah.
Quercetin in fruits, obviously.
Yep, absolutely. Will anybody else have any more questions? If you guys are watching the replay, drop us a hashtag replay. Feel free to leave your questions below. I will, like I mentioned, for Anthony and Kumar, I will just write up a little more info for you underneath your comments there, so you have a little more in-depth info to refer back to.
And if you have any ideas, like if you want us to do one on joint health or X concern, we can put one together as well to help you out, because it's a lot of topics we can cover, so we want to make sure we're serving everybody's needs, obviously.
Yeah, we try to do what is like the most questions asked, in the group, and what we see. A lot of it's mental health, immune health. So we've covered those. Heart health was February, so we wanted to do that. But I think joint health is a good one. Absolutely. Liver health is another one we get a lot of questions about. So that might be another good topic. But yeah, let us know. You can reach out to us individually, about questions about the group, about different topics that you want to learn more about. And also, if you need information, if you want more information on our coaching services as well. And we each, have our own individual coaching businesses, and be more than happy to help you on your journey of getting healthy and just, feeling good, because we should all feel good. Too many of us walk around in a state of chronic inflammation and stress, and, it's not good. We need to heal.
Absolutely. And feel good. Like you mentioned, we don't realize how good we can feel.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Anything else, Chris?
I think we're good. Thank you so much. You did a great job, as always.
Bye, everyone. We will see you next time.